But at the moment, the story and the narrative is you've got to have pink flamingos in your garden, you've got to have an island and a giraffe, and you've got to have a car and all this bullshit that goes with it. We need to get back to reality. You don't understand a pound note if you haven't earned it yourself. But I didn't care, I was just in. I was like, what else have I got to do? What else have I got to learn? I'll learn it. And it all became way too much. The only option we got is you walk away from the $100,000 and we just go, you know what, sod it, done. Or we gamble the family house.
People that do then quit. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm not a big fan of quitters. There's no quit. You got to have a fight, you got to have dog in you. You got to fight the whole time. I can't be beaten. I'm unbeatable.
Welcome back to the A-Game Unfiltered podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be interviewing Dodge Woodall. Dodge is a business owner, an entrepreneur, investor, very successful YouTuber, and has a brilliant podcast of his own. In this episode, we talk about his past, what drives him to be successful, how he set up one of the best festivals in the UK, and more. We don't pull any punches in this episode. This is not for the light-hearted. If that's you, I probably suggest turning it off now. But if you want a big old dose of reality and inspiration, this episode could just change your life. Successful entrepreneur, business owner, investor, YouTuber, and one of the best podcasts in the UK. But what I really want to know is, what is your skincare routine? You are glowing, my friend. You are glowing today.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? It's funny you should say that. Who said it? Will Greenwood said it. Do you follow rugby?
I know who he is.
England centre. And I got all these messages one day, all pinging through, going, Dodge, he just bigged you up on this programme. And he said, I've known Dodge for years. Someone mentioned Bournemouth Sevens. I've known Dodge for years through the rugby world, And he goes, he's a well-moisturised man. I just use the cheapest cream every day, whack it on, boom.
I wanted to read something out to you. I grew up in London, living above pubs from the age of 4 to 18. I became streetwise at an early age and quickly learned how to sell and promote. It wasn't a normal upbringing, but it was a win-win for me, as I was able to grow my entrepreneurial spirit and start up various businesses from a young age. So can you take me back to that period? I know it's quite a large period of time, but what did you see growing up? I mean, I've worked in hospitality for 15 years. I've seen some horrendous things from the adult perspective, but I can't imagine what it looked like from a child. So how did that sort of impact you as you were growing up?
Well, firstly, it was a very different upbringing to most kids. Living above a pub, your old man's a bodybuilder. We had 2 Alsatians, we had a Doberman, we had budgies flying around, we had a cockatoo called Bubbles because we're all West Ham fans. Yeah. We had a pet monkey, all living above a 2-bed flat above a pub.
Monkey?
Yeah, a monkey. We had a pet monkey.
Wasn't it called Mitzi or something?
It was called Mitzi,
yeah. I heard that on someone else's podcast.
Yeah, so it's just the 80s for you, I guess. 80s and 90s. So at the time, it's just the norm. It was only not the norm when your mates used to come around and be like, what on earth is going on here? Like, you'd be downstairs in the pub, playing the fruit machines, behind the bar, pouring half a pint. You're around naughty people. There was bouncers on the door. There was police raids. You see your old man having a tear up, throwing people out. You see people wheeling and dealing, taking cash, earning cash, selling stuff, buying stuff. There's nothing we couldn't get in the pub. You know, you'd order something on a Friday, it'd be there for you on Saturday evening, whatever it may be. So I was constantly around entrepreneurs, but no one back then, Adam, really knew what entrepreneur was. You know, it was, back then it was Del Boy, I guess, and the next period in the 90s was Richard Branson. But being an entrepreneur back then wasn't a cool thing. Being an entrepreneur now, if you're a sportsman or a rapper, everyone wanted to be a sportsman or a rapper or a musician or whatever. All of those lot now want to be entrepreneurs, So I found a knack of earning money from a very young age, and I loved it. There were so many people coming in and out of the pub. We had a nightclub next door. There was a restaurant underneath. There was our pub here. I had one thin wall between me and the nightclub. So I didn't really sleep much as a kid because, you'd be people would go to the nightclub next door on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There'd be one wall there and the DJ would be playing music, everyone would be dancing, banging their feet, singing, come on Eileen, and everyone was stamping their feet or whatever tracks were being played. And it was madness, but I loved it. And there were so many ways to earn money from a very young age. and I earned money in many, many ways.
That must have been sort of built into you though by mum and dad to an extent, because there's many 8 or 10-year-olds or whoever. I mean, people now, even that I know, 30s and 40s, don't know how to make money and can't think outside the box. So was it mum and dad that sort of exposed you to that opportunity of what is possible around earning money in that entrepreneurial mindset?
Yeah, I guess so. Like mum, dad was East London boy, done good, no education. Mum was a Mancunian, very good looking, no education, and they met in the casino world in Mayfair, and they were both croupiers. And back then it was all about earning money. You had to earn money. If you earned money, you're going to have a better life. That's essentially what it was. But when you're living above a pub and you're seeing craziness going on, gangsters in the whatever we saw, the stuff that I saw as a kid, kids shouldn't see. I wouldn't have my little boy now seeing that, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And I think what my dad at the time, he always walked around with £1,000 in his pocket. He always had £1,000 cash in his pocket everywhere he went. That's just the way he was. He had his bodybuilding tracksuit bottoms on, his Gold's gym top, and he always had £1,000 in his pocket. And when you're around that, you become accustomed to it. You start seeing him paying people off and doing this and taking money back and earning money and passing it around and going for nice restaurants and meals. And it was just, I learned a lot from mum and dad, and they gave me a huge gift on many gifts really, on being able to go. If you go for it, you fancy it, go on, go for it. Go for it. It was a really nice attitude for them to pass on, and they gave me belief as a kid. If you believe you can do it, and your mind believes you can do it, you can do it. It's wonderful gifts they gave me as a kid. It's only now when I can stop. It was actually the pandemic. I stopped and looked back, because it's always forward, building businesses and building whatever we've built over the years. But definitely as a kid, you're around that environment. You want to be entrepreneurial. And when you haven't got money and you start earning money, you're like, oh my God, I've just created a win-win situation here. And they taught me at a young age, always create win-win deals, always create a win-win. They're happy, you're happy. There's all these little things play a big part in the entrepreneur I am today.
Age 4 till 7 really are our formative years. And the work that I do with men a lot of the time is that they haven't healed that inner child because mum and dad maybe told them they couldn't do something. In some cases, mum and dad weren't around, and I see the reverse of how destructive it can be. So having that role model to say, you know what, go on, son, you can do it. Fucking hell. Yeah. Very lucky.
Yeah,
right,
very.
in that sense. Yeah. But did you see it as abnormal when you went to like other friends' houses? Having a sleepover at Dodge's might have been different if you went somewhere else's. Did you see it as normal?
When I went to other people's houses, I realised how lucky they were.
Right.
Because there was no noise, there was no craziness, there was no violence, there was no toxicity in the pub where I was always there. I only went upstairs at 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night, 5, 6, 7 days a week, when most kids were in bed at 8 o'clock. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of, I only went to the houses and they had big, nice, comfy sofas. It was peaceful. They had a lovely garden. Mum and dad were cooking dinner together. They would all eat dinner together. Like, we never ate dinner together. It was always like, go and get the pub food downstairs. You'd have chili con carne or lasagna or whatever it may be, or go make yourself a tuna sarnie, or this fish and chips go in. And that's just the way it was, And I was just constantly around adults. So I was learning my trade. I was learning my trade as a kid. And it's funny when you roll on now and I see the fluffiness of entrepreneurs today. Do you know what I mean? They might be like 2-3 years in. I've been learning my trade since the age of 10. And when I was at school, I wasn't good in the class. I knew at a young age I didn't have to learn Latin and algebra and chemistry and all these subjects. I just knew. I was ahead of my game, and I was good at sport, and I was good at earning a pound note, which essentially back then meant entrepreneurship. All the other stuff I wasn't good at. So I might as well focus in what I was good at, and that's what I've done over the last few decades.
How was school for you?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was disruptive. I got suspended a couple of times. I was not naughty. I was just disruptive because I always wanted to have fun. Every time I went to school in the day, mum and dad didn't really understand the system of you must sit there and learn and write and do exams and because they didn't do them. They left at a very early age. So every day it was like me and dad would walk to school with the 2 Alsatians, West Ham rucksack on my back with 30, 40 minutes going to school. It was raining. We never drove, rainy, snow, And his words were always go and have a good laugh today. Go and enjoy yourself, son. Make people laugh. Be curious. Ask questions. You know, all these things that I teach people now, and I think it's so important because I wasn't clever enough as a kid to answer the questions when the teacher would say, I've just taught you this, can you regurgitate what I taught you? And the first kid would put their hand up and go, I know the answer. I didn't have a clue what the answer was. But I was the first one to go, I don't quite understand what you're saying, sir. Can you explain to me, please? And I did that at a young age. And I know a lot of kids around me were thinking it, but would never speak up. You know, so I think that it's the psychology right now is completely turned on its head, where it should be being curious and asking questions rather than being the first one to regurgitate. Because back then, there was no Google for me to go and find the answer. You had to read books and write notes. I just couldn't get my head around that, you know. Well, now I can do 2 seconds. Siri, what's that? Boom. Siri, what's the population of India? Oh, 1.3 billion. Oh, thanks, mate. Like, do you know what I mean? Siri's my best mate, you know. I'm constantly on Siri asking him questions.
Yeah.
You know,
it's good that, though, because that's resourceful. We don't lack resources. We lack resourcefulness. I have people message me and say, how much water do I need to drink, Adam? By the time you type that to me, you could have typed that into Google.
Yeah.
And just type in your weight, type in your height, and it'll tell you how much water you need to consume. And that's over something as basic as that. Oh, how could I set up a business? Go on YouTube, type it in. Okay, you might get a load of shit and the person with the best thumbnail might get right to the top, for example. But if you search hard enough, you'll find some fucking great answers. But to be able to do that back in that day and age, again, having that support from mum and dad to say, go for it, believe in yourself, back yourself. So many people just don't have that.
They don't.
You know, which is incredible. So as you look back and again, you're going, oh God, you know, I wish I had maybe an element of the norm when you go to your friends' houses of the meal times and the stuff. Is there a part of the little dodge that sort of missed that opportunity, or is, you know, I'm not saying upset by it or, trauma's used a lot of the time now, isn't it? But do you feel like there is an element of that younger version of yourself where you wish you had a bit more of the air quote normality?
Yeah, a little bit.
Which parts?
I guess I had no trauma. There was no trauma. You know what? I don't know. I don't actually know because I've never even spoken about this. So I actually don't know. All I can speak about is I freaking loved living in a pub. I wouldn't change it for the world. But going back to your question there, was there a part of you that missed normality? Yeah. Now you've asked that question, I think so, definitely, yeah. And because I guess the reason why I say yeah is because I'm giving my boy who's 10, that I can remember when I was 10, I'm giving him everything that I didn't have. And that wasn't, you know, I was very lucky as a kid. You know, I was very, very lucky. We had nice holidays, we had a good lifestyle. It was just home life was madness. And at that time, I guess, you know, mum and dad split up when I was 12 and they were fighting. Yeah. They were arguing and fighting because you can't, in the hospitality game or the pub game, it's really, really intense. You know, they're up at 7 o'clock and closing the pub at 11 p.m. Within that period, when that pub opens at 11 till 11, imagine 1,000 random people coming into your house. You don't know whether they're drunk, they're using drugs, whether they've had a tear up, whether they've just left prison, whether they've fallen in love. And you mix alcohol with that, erupts a lot of pressures and stresses and what have you on the publicans, the mum and dad who are running it. So, you know, we might be relaxing upstairs in the dressing gown at 9 p.m. on a Thursday. Dad gets a phone call, there's 4 blokes having a tear up down there. He's running down there with his tracksuit bottoms on, banging a couple out and throwing a couple out. I'm there watching it all. You know, to see your dad have a live fight for your normal bod right now is unheard of. But when you see your dad have many tear-ups to get people out of the pub because he was very protective of his livelihood, you know, that causes his own pressures. And then the stress of he's bringing upstairs, or the stress mum's bringing upstairs into the flat, and they do a tag team and he goes down and she comes up, and then they have a massive tear up at the end of the night, arguing with each other, you know, literally arguing with each other about stuff. That's not good for a relationship. It's really not good for a relationship. So maybe the knock-on effects of that as maybe, maybe it's had an effect who I am today. I've never even thought about this, if I'm honest with you. But I wouldn't change living in a pub whatsoever. But I guess if I'm doing it for my boy now, I want to sit down and have dinner with him every night. We live in a nice home with nice land and calm. All I wanted was, when I left the pub, was to go. I actually went into nightclub world for 10 years, so that was madness as well. But apart from that, now the festival world.
I was going to say.
Yeah, but when I was in the first year of proper business as an adult in the nightclub, well, the first thing I wanted to do was buy my own home, and all I wanted was peace and quiet. That was my thing, and that was my ultimate goal. And year one, I managed to do that, which I'm sure we'll go into later. But yeah,
I love that, mate. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
because when we do our men's retreats, you see this suppressed emotion come out in the 3 or 4 day period, because we create the space for them to share without judging. You know, I wasn't judging you as you were saying that. I'm super intrigued about it. And I think we all have that unhealed boy within us, and a lot of men operate through the inner child not being healed. So it comes out through anger, typically. And this world is not set up for men to show anger. And a lot of women want men to display it. My partner said it to me before, why can't you just argue with me? I was like, I'm 6'4", I weigh 18 stone. I'm not going to stand over you at 5'6" and 7 or 8 stone and start screaming in your face. You don't want that. Not because I'm Anthony Joshua, not because I'm ever going to cause you physical harm, nothing like that. But what they think they need is that, when in actual fact, most men don't display anger, so then they internalize the emotion, and then they go to drink, they go to drugs, they just don't speak up to anybody. And then, you know, there's a phrase that I heard a few weeks ago, which I love, is that most men live a life of quiet desperation. And I think that's because the inner child hasn't healed. So when they do display the anger, that's like an angry child. That's not a rational adult state, is anger, because we can all feel emotion. But to display the emotion's different. And that says to me that you're out of control. When you're out of control, that's a childlike state. That's not an adult state. And that's very, very different. And a lot of the time it's because they push down everything that's happened from a young age, whether it's teachers saying they're never going to be good enough, mum not being emotionally available. Usually it's dad not being there, either physically or emotionally, because their dads weren't. And their dads used to hit them. So instead of them hitting their child, well, okay, I'm not going to do that to my kid, but I'm emotionally stunted, so I'm just not going to be emotionally available for them instead. So I'm going to have the stiff upper lip, I'm going to have the stoic mindset. And yeah, it just creates more men with, I guess, they're just severely lacking emotional intelligence, ultimately.
Agree.
You know, which is a real shame. And one of the exercises we do is we get them into like a meditative state, and we take them back to when they were younger and the memories that they might share. Some of them were horrendous. One guy was 7 and he was throwing acorns at a car with his friend. His mum saw. They took him to a fucking prison cell. They took him to the police station. They knew a police officer that worked there. They put him in a cell for half an hour, 40 minutes, and like interrogated him at the age of 7. And that was one of his earliest memories. You're like, fuck. So the question I'm going to get to ask you here, mate, is I get them into a state and I ask them, what would you say to younger you? What would you say to little Dodge, that part of you that is wishing that things could have been different? What would you say to him now as the older version of you now?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say anything.
No?
No, there's nothing now I go, oh, you know what, I wish I'd say that to you. Because I had so much love. I got so much love from my mum and so much love from my dad and my sister. We had a very loving family. So there's nothing I would change there. There's just a couple of little tweaks you mentioned earlier. Like, oh yeah, we didn't eat together and it was very noisy, very loud, and we saw lots of stuff which was wild. But that's who I am today. It's made me who I am today. You know, you become tough, you become bloody resilient. You have grit, you have graft, you know, have all these gifts that aren't around today in people. You know, and it's funny you should mention about that trauma thing, because I've done 250 odd episodes now. And we've had a lot of people in, whether it's SAS, whether it's criminal underworld, whether it's ancestral drug smugglers, whether it's bank robbers, whether it's entrepreneurs, billionaires, whatever it's sports people. Any of the real violent ones, have had serious trauma as a kid. And then those violent ones haven't dealt with the trauma, and they're adults running around in kids' minds. And that's dangerous when you mix alcohol and cocaine with that, you know?
Yeah, and then environment of who they surround themselves with. Because it's going to be other people that have just been put through the same traumatic process. So then it builds up, and there's a model known as the 6 human needs. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but there's certainty, there's uncertainty, because basically it's variety. Uncertainty on our terms is variety, right? What restaurant to go to, where to go on holiday, we all need that. Uncertainty not on our terms is anxiety, i.e. the pandemic. Oh, we're going to get released in 2 months. Oh, no, it's 6 months. Oh, it's a year. Oh, it's gone on for 2 years. If we knew it was going to be 2 years, yeah, it would have been shit, but you would have adapted accordingly, because then you can see it, the light at the end of the tunnel. Then there's significance. There's love and connection. And these 4 needs are the needs of the personality, and they can be used in a really negative way as well. So the 2 needs of the soul, however, are growth and contribution. And you can't fake that.
No.
You can't fake contribution and giving more to others. If you donated to a charity, you feel good. If you did, I don't know, if you bought a homeless person a sandwich, you feel good because you've contributed to something bigger than yourself. Yeah. And then you feel like you're growing. The reason why I think violence isn't going anywhere is because of the significance piece. If I'm a homeless person and you're Jeff Bezos and I put a knife to your throat and say, give me your wallet, give me your phone, I've become more significant than you in that moment. And that's why I don't think it's going anywhere. And a lot of these children that turn out to be criminals haven't had any significance from an early age. They've probably been shouted at, they've been told that they're a piece of shit, you're never going to amount to anything, stop bothering me, etc. Or worse, they get ignored. Children that get ignored, the mental health statistics are way worse than those that have been beaten, which is quite interesting. So it doesn't surprise me that some of the guests you have had on that have gone through the violent past, if you did strip it back, I would imagine it wasn't, in most cases, loving, supportive family. I would imagine it was probably emotionally or physically unavailable father,
yeah, agree,
or mother, or whatever, which is interesting. So going into the hospitality side, moving forward with this, because I'm really interested to hear your perspective on this, as again, you sort of had the mantle from 4 till 18, living in the pub, and then you went into the nightlife industry afterwards, and I was a huge part of that. So this is what I'm fascinated to hear from you. What were some of the shocking things that you saw in this industry? Because I think that a lot of people don't understand just how bad it is, because they're one of the people that are out and drunk, whereas when you're sober and you're working and what have you and you see it, it's a whole different perspective, isn't it? So what were some of the shocking things that you saw over the years?
Bloody hell. Well, over a 10-year period, I went into the nightclub world, throwing parties in different clubs all around the country. And I had 12 nightclubs every week, from London to Manchester to Birmingham to Leicester. So there was a lot of parties being thrown in nightclubs from the year 1999 to 2008, when it was really peaking and peaked. I saw a lot of alcohol being consumed because we were all brought up that that's what happened in England. You drink 10 pints and you go and do sambucas and you go and do tequilas, and you just saw a lot of people larruped, really, really, really drunk on the streets post nightclub or post leaving the bars at 10:30, 11 o'clock. Obviously, when people are that drunk, it causes violence, it causes doormen having tear-ups with them, it causes police coming out, it causes ambulance, it just causes a lot of grief, you know, which knock-on effect is a lot more grief for the family moving forward. But yeah, I just saw lots. There was lots of women, thousands of women walking the streets in miniskirts, like out of control. Like if you're a bloke and you're doing that, you're vulnerable because you could get started on, or someone could start, or someone bumps into you wrong. It was kind of that. But I think the biggest take on your question would be the amount of 18 to 25-year-olds, 18 to 30-year-olds, female, who were having blackout, you know, with too much alcohol, because we were never taught to drink a certain amount of alcohol. You were just taught to just get on it and play drinking games and have fun and end up having 9-10 pints, and the next day you'd wake up, oh, do you remember you did that? You were running around naked, and do you remember you were climbing out the window? Do you remember when you stopped a car when he was going at 61 and you stopped in front of him? Just like the maddest stories. Like if you were coming in from Mars now and you had 1,000 men who were around in the 90s and the noughties and the 80s, really, 80s, 90s, you wouldn't believe what people got up to, all down to the use of alcohol. You know, I've seen copious amounts of fights. That's not a proud thing for me to say, but I'm just answering your question. You know,
no, it's true.
And I've seen axes and guns and knives and I don't really want to mention that, but it was just part and parcel. You're in that world. You're in the nightclub where you've got 2,000 people in your club. There's 2,000 people in another club. They all come out. They're going to meet. The doorman chucks one bloke out. He goes away, gets his 10 mates to come back and charge the door. And there's a 20-man brawl going on. It was just the nightclub world.
Yeah. What's your relationship like with alcohol? You personally?
I'm good with alcohol. I can leave it or take it. I like a glass of red wine. I like maybe 2 glasses of red wine. But I can leave it and take it. I could go with a month, 6 weeks, 10 weeks. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. But that's very different to who I am today. Was on in my 20s.
Sure.
My 20s was getting on it.
How many holes can this fit in?
Like literally, yeah. Like how many? Like we were rugby lads. We'd get on it. We'd finish sport. We'd get on it and go to a nightclub twice a week, 3 times a week. But actually, for a 10-year period, I was in nightclubs probably an average of 6 days a week for 10 years. 4 days working, taking the door money for prom parties all around the country for about maybe 10,000 people each week in different clubs. And then I'll take the door money and I'll drive back down to London, and that's in my 20s, and that's where we all lived, and we all partied in Fulham and Chelsea and Brixton and Clapham. That's what we did for 10 years, and we were in nightclubs Friday and Saturday, and sometimes we'd go to the Pitcher and Piano and end up in a club on a Sunday night in Fulham. But I'd always be 6 days a week in nightclubs, and I look back and think, my God, how mad's that? Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah.
It was just what it was, because the more people we got in the nightclub, the more money we earned. And when you finish, we just finished Loughborough Sports University and blagged my way through that, ended up with a 2-2 because I was paying all the clever kids to do all the coursework, essentially, because I was...
Really?
Yeah. Because, again,
different kind of AA, that.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, exactly, yeah. My 20s was partying hard. But we started early, remember? I was going into clubs at 10, 11, 12, 13. The doormen, who were our doormen, they were bouncers back in the day, they would take me out to clubs till 3, 4 in the morning at the age of 11, 12, 13, and then drop me back to Dad's at the pub. Like, Dad had huge trust with the doorman. The doorman loved Dad. Dad was the main face around where we lived.
Right, okay.
You know, he walked down the streets, everyone was like, nod, and I was the son of that. So every nightclub we went to, as I was growing up, you always had queue jump, you always had VIP, As a younger, so maybe 16, 17, 18, when you started going clubbing. But yeah, I thought it was... I was in clubs from a young age.
Yeah.
Although I was selling tickets to the club next door at the age of 10, in our pub, when I'd go and get 10 tickets from the nightclub boss next door, 20 tickets from the nightclub boss next door. Yeah, it just worked. It worked. Pay £1, sold them for £2. People got them, they queue jumped. I got my money, created a win-win situation. They got their queue jump. The manager got his £1. I end up with £20, like for 20 minutes work. So it just started at a young age. I knew that I could sell something and create a win-win, and they were happy and I was happy and I was earning money. This was genius. And all I've done for the past 3 decades is do exactly the same, but just the numbers have got bigger. Essentially, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what entrepreneurship is, though, isn't it? It's spotting a gap, identifying it. Have I got the skill sets that align with this? And then I need to work my fucking ass off. Yeah. Why do you think so many people fall into that wantrepreneur mindset? You know, they think they want to own a business and never do it. Why do you think they stay stuck?
Because they don't know what graft is. They don't know what graft is. Maybe they don't know what resilience is. You know, there's no shortcut. There is no effing shortcut to be a success. Whether you train in the gym, you've got to put 3 years in to see your physique change. You've got to eat well. If you want to do a business, you've got to live and breathe it. You've got to be obsessed. You have to be obsessed. You know, to run a successful business, it's going to take 5 years. It's going to be even longer now, the way the world's going is. But, you know, I call it the 1,000-day rule. Get to 1,000 days. Have you broken even? Have you got your initial investment back? No. Well, get to 5 years then. Have you got your broken even? Have you got your investment back? By that time, if you're not doing something that you love, people will just drop out. If you wake up in the morning and you're not doing something you absolutely love doing, I'm lucky I love bringing people together and putting smiles on people's faces, and I've done that for many decades. And I'm involved in sport, I'm involved in business, and I'm involved in entrepreneurship. So if you have down days, you know you're going to get through it because you love it. But if you picked a business that is the wrong business, come year 2, you're going to wake up going, what have I done? I've committed 150 grand into this. There's no return coming in. I can't see where I'm going to break out of it. You look left and all your mates originally are going, go on, mate. You're going to nail it. You know that they're getting jealous if you're being successful. You're pretending you're successful to your mates because you don't want them to know. Your mum and dad ask you a question, go, Adam, how you getting on, mate? How you getting on with your business? You're like, yeah, it's going really well. Deep down you're going, I ain't got a freaking clue because no one's taught me entrepreneurship. No one's taught me business. No one's taught me how to do a startup. You know, like if I had entrepreneurship as A-level, I'd get A star. You know, if you give me any other subject, I'll be a D, apart from sport and business. Do you know what I mean? So I'm top of my game in entrepreneurship and business. And I think when people jump into a business, but I think it's a shiny object syndrome. People are seeing entrepreneurship at the moment that you can own an island, you know, you can have a giraffe in your back garden, like just mad stuff.
Get the monkey back.
Get the monkey back. Yes, exactly. Mate, that'd be quite cool if I get a monkey just for. But you know, but entrepreneurship, because of social media, people can make it out however they want. I can look at any business and within 10 minutes of chatting to someone or delving, I'll know if they're succeeding or not. I just know, you know. So it's people are jumping in too quickly. They haven't done their own work. Homework's key. Homework is key. People don't do enough homework before jumping into doing a business.
Like what?
Homework, research, and then research even more. And then pick up the phones under a different name and call your competitors. And then phone up the next day under a different name, asking the right questions, because you'll have someone in the office who keeps opening up more information for you and you're jotting notes down. Then you're building your business mind up going, right, I can compete against these guys now because I know this, and this. I know their customer service is terrible. I know how much turnover they're doing because someone in their office just slipped up. You know, these the old school stuff that you have to do before you launch, and no one talks about that. And this is why I'm going to be launching our new YouTube channel in 2025, because I feel, Adam, that there's so much bullshit out there about business and about entrepreneurship. And the ones that talk about entrepreneurship and business who have sold out for £20 million, you're a unicorn. That's really unheard of. That might be you've had VC money, you know, you've had venture capitalist money, and that 20 million might have been split between 4, you're left with 5. Good luck to you. I rate all that. But real entrepreneurship isn't about going to a VC and doing a B2B and cutting a deal with him because you valued your company at 5 million quid without even selling anything. Real business is building your business from scratch, building up and bootstrapping it to a certain point, and then looking, if you really want to, do I go and get investment? Make that business model work. You know, I find it really odd for the last, the whole VC, venture capitalist money over the last sort of 10 odd years, since 2000, maybe 15 years, that people celebrate about getting VC money, but they haven't proved anything. I think it's a con.
Yeah.
Maybe a con's a wrong word, but if you're creating a tech business and something and you've got a great idea and you need VC money, I totally get that as well. But I think too many young entrepreneurs are going straight in for the kill of going, I've got to get VC money because once I get VC money, I can then go and buy that car. I can then go on holiday to Dubai. I can then jump on a jet and I can spend that money. But you don't understand you don't understand a pound note if you haven't earned it yourself. You don't understand the value of money. And that's another thing that people don't speak about. They don't understand the value of money. You know, and you don't understand, again, what people never speak about. People don't understand about the power of being able to save money. Everyone talks about earning money, but no one talks about the power of saving money. You know, so I feel like I've got a lot of stuff that I could just go vroom.
No, I love it.
On YouTube and hopefully help a lot of people and just tell them how it really is.
Yeah, because people have said that to me before when I've said that I'm saving, you get it in the right account, it can multiply, not by huge numbers, obviously, but they'll say, oh, but you're losing money. Okay, yes, in the bigger picture, yes, okay, it's depreciating in value, I appreciate it, but it's better to have that money than to not have any of it. You're
right there. And there's a huge plus point there on having money in your bank liquid, because that means you're nimble. People don't talk about this. They go, oh, you can't have all your money in the bank. It's got to be all in property. It's got to have buy-to-lets, Things change very quickly. Labour government come in, all the buy-to-lets, capital gains tax, they're all stuffed. Like oh my God, I'm getting stitched now for capital gains. If you've got money in your bank, you're nimble to act upon things. If an opportunity comes up, boom, yeah, I can put a load of money into that. I'll have some of that. Or you want to do something quickly. You know, if you've got no money in your bank and you've got it spread everywhere else, you can't act quickly. And being able to act quickly as an entrepreneur is a superpower. You know, you think about these big companies, you know, where we are now in the world of, I can be a small business, but I can be a small global business, you know. And also people don't speak about money in terms of, you know, the top one. Do you know what the top 1% earner is in the UK? How much they'd be on?
I might be wrong with this, but is it about 70 or 80k?
Top 1% is 160k.
1%, okay.
But the normal bod would go, if you asked them, would be like, oh, the top 1%, it's got to be millions. It's got to be millions. Do you know what I mean? It's the reality is, if you're running a business and you love your business and it's your lifestyle and you love everything about it, and at the end of the year you can earn 100 grand profit, you are smashing it. But at the moment, the story and the narrative is you've got to have pink flamingos in your garden, you've got to have an island and a giraffe, and you've got to have a car and all this bullshit that goes with it. We need to get back to reality. What is a good business? A good business is something that makes you happy. Yeah? And if that business makes you happy and you're waking up every day, because when you're happy, you're going to be happy to your family around you, your kids around you, your friends. You've got more time in your diary. People don't talk about that. Every time I speak to a pal of mine, hey, getting on, mate? Oh, busy. Oh, busy.
Wait, oh, not
flat
bad.
out.
Not bad or busy.
Oh, busy, flat out. People ask me, how is it? No, I'm not busy. And I'm proud to say I'm not busy. My calendar's free to go and play paddle tennis, to go on holidays, to be with my pals. Listen, there's times when I'm grafting, but I don't choose to show off about how busy I am. People need to change the narrative there. A better business is somewhere where you are more free and happy. And we need to speak about this more in entrepreneurship. But there's also a journey in entrepreneurship, Adam, that no one speaks about. I don't know any different because I've never had a job. But I'd imagine if you had a job in the corporate world and you jump out of your job and you're on 80 grand, say, you go, I've got this idea. Don't jump out of your job until you're earning at least a side, build something up on the side while you're at your job, but at least earn about 60% of your salary before jumping. You know, in that side business, get it to a point where you go, now I can jump. A lot of people are jumping and then realising how hard it is to earn a pound note. Because you're getting stung with VAT if you turn over more than 90 grand. You're getting stung with income tax. You're getting stung with employers' national insurance. You start employing people. You're getting stung with paying people's pensions when you start employing people. You're getting stung on turnover taxes, which you're going to find very hard to make profit at the end of the year. And that, if you leave a job, you will be skint for 3 to 5 years. People don't speak about this. You will be skint. But if you're prepared to be skint and you believe in something that you absolutely love, go for it. But I just want to give, I feel like I just want to give my knowledge on this new YouTube channel. I think I'm ready because I'm getting inundated with just seeing bullshit everywhere on the internet. And I think people would like to hear the truth of someone who's built 5 businesses from scratch, someone who's gambled their family house on stuff, like someone who lives and breathes business, because I love business. Like, I love it, mate. I can't tell you.
It's pouring out, yeah. It's
I
brilliant.
can tell you, I love it.
Yeah.
That's my sport.
Sometimes, anyway, I don't think there's ever a role that you love every single element of, and I think that's okay as well. You know, we love doing what we're doing now and speaking to people like you, but you won't love the travel that's involved. Harry Kane loves scoring the winning goal for Bayern Munich in England. But does he love the 6-hour coach ride or the midweek Champions League games where he has to go to Ukraine or fucking wherever and be away from his family? Probably not. Does he love the mobility work that he has to do for 2 hours after a game or ice baths or whatever? Probably not. But the trade-off of doing what he can do that he loves so much is worth every single fucking minute spent. And we're, you know, helping other coaches now set up their businesses, and we say to them the same thing, like, there's no fucking magic pill here. We've worked our arse off to get to where we are, but we're going to give you everything, chapter and verse, about how we've done it. But whether you apply it or not, it's like a set of ingredients. If Gordon Ramsay comes around to your house and gives you the most amazing ingredients for the most incredible chocolate cake, and you just stare at the fucking bag, nothing's going to happen. You have to get it out. You have to start playing around with it. And no, this is the recipe, Adam, for this. Oh, right, thanks, Gordon. And then you can refine it along the way. And after you do it over and over and over, you don't need Gordon anymore. You don't need the recipe anymore. But I think that a lot of people get so confused with what to focus on, and they get overwhelmed because they don't have clarity around what they actually want, number one. Then they do find out what they want, but they don't believe they're deserving of it. So then they come up to phrases with me like, oh, I just procrastinate, Adam. No one procrastinates. That's absolute bullshit. If I said to you, right, I've got your family at gunpoint, you need to go outside and make 100 quid or I'm going to fucking kill them, you'd get pretty creative pretty quick. You won't procrastinate on it, would you? You just go out and do it. You know, if I said you have to lose X amount of weight in X amount of time or I'm going to kill your family, you'd do it. You won't procrastinate on it. So it's nonsense. So to your point earlier where you said people don't leave jobs, you know, essentially because they're scared of the graft. People that do then quit really early. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm not a big fan of quitters. There's no quit. You got to have a fight. You got to have dog in you. You got to fight the whole time. I can't be beaten. I'm unbeatable. Like I just will do anything to win. In business, you have to, because you're feeding all these mouths. There's mortgages out there that I'm paying salaries, that they got kids, they got this. We just have to make something win. You have to make something work. You know, whatever business you do, you have to make it work. You know, people talk about failure all the time. Failure's not even my vocabulary. There's no such thing as failure in my vocabulary. Zero. I tweak and I tweak and I tweak until we win. I tweak until I win, till we win, till the business wins, till we're bringing in money that everyone's happy and being fed and getting their bonuses and getting looked after. That's something I've done over the last 25 plus years in adult business, is look after a lot of people. I like to reward people. Like I love rewarding people. That's my thing. There's lots of things I'm rubbish at, Adam. You know, I don't do email. I don't use a computer. I just have my mobile phone. And as a kid, my mum was taught me everyone you meet is a contact. I have 9,000 individual people's numbers on my mobile that I have transferred from phone to phone, from the Nokia. We had to write it down and put it in. It would take me a week to transfer back then. It might have been 3,000 numbers back then, like 15, 20 years ago. Transfer, next phone. Shit, I've got to transfer again. I stay a week doing it all, because I didn't miss a contact. Now with Apple, I can go bing, bing, and it goes straight. I'm like, results. Do you know what I mean? So I just love the game. It's a game.
I think so as well.
I don't play team sport anymore. Like rugby was my thing, and we got to quite a good level at that. And this is a game.
People will say though, correct me if I'm wrong, easy for you. And I fucking hate that, because what they see is the nice car, the house, with yourself, and what about not talking about me here, where you've got the festival, you've got the other business, you've got the great podcast. Well, it's all right for you, Dodge. You can say it's a game. And it's like, no, I can say it's a game because I've treated it like a game up until this point. It's like that cause and effect, isn't it? The chicken and the egg. Can you afford to do it now because of that? Or did you get to where you are because you allowed it to be a game from the beginning? Have you had much sort of criticism and people trying to drag you down, or have you felt it quite the other way and people have been quite supportive?
I think people have been really supportive. Really supportive. Like when I went on social media, everyone talks about you've got to do a personal brand like 3 years ago. I was like, no, leave it out. I don't want to be doing that. So I used to put the company forward in front. And now they were like, do a personal brand, do Instagram, do a podcast. I was like, what's a podcast? Well, I've got to do Instagram, what do? I was like, oh, leave it out. By creating a personal brand, my whole world has changed. So many opportunities have come our way. So many opportunities to work with people, so many opportunities to invest in stuff, so many opportunities to have partners, so many different sponsors coming in. It's been an absolute game changer. It really has. And then when going back to your question there, Adam, someone said to me, be careful of YouTube. Oh, it's like Twitter, that lot. Be careful of YouTube. Everyone's going to be really neg. We've not had any. Everyone's been really kind. And I'm not speaking out of turn here, and I will touch wood, and I'm not, I've been around the block, so if anyone was horrible and I'll be able to take it, But I normally would like to find out why. if someone was like that and they really meant it. But I've had a lot of supportive people. But on that journey, you got to be very careful who you have around you in business and life. And you got to be very careful and choosing your right friends, because we all have a lot of acquaintances. But if you can distinguish the difference between acquaintances and friends, your life gets a lot easier. And not a lot of people do that. People like to say, yeah, I've got loads of friends. He's a friend. Yeah, he's my best. People say he's my best mate. And I think, you've told me that about 7 different people. He's my best mate. I've known him for 3 years. I can't be your best mate. You know him for 3 years. Your best mates are your ones you grew up with.
By the definition, you can't have 7 best.
No,
anything.
that's that's like, so people have been really kind. But you get, again, you don't know. There'll be people who will show some sort of jealousy and envy. There'll be a few of those people. In fact, there's been a couple of people, like they've shown a bit of envy and jealousy of you growing and them not growing with you, or whatever's going on in their world. But I just feel whenever someone, it's never been online, but if it's someone physically, you can feel that feeling when you're in a room of a bit of envy or whatever. You've just got to, I look at them and think, I wonder what's going on in their life. That's all I do. And I just wish them all the best. That's all you can do.
Yeah, because I always think of when someone criticises me, the first thing I do is take a deep breath, because sometimes some of the comments are horrendous that we've had on TikTok.
You have?
Oh my God.
Really?
There's articles on Reddit rinsing me.
Okay.
Like on LinkedIn Lunatics, it's called.
Yeah.
And
like what? Give me an example.
So 7 years ago, I nearly ended my life. I was driving a car at high speed, highly intoxicated, with every intention of crashing and ending my life. And I got a phone call from my mum, and it just changed everything. I just saw it appear on the screen. And I tell this story quite openly. And I tell it like I'm going to the shop now because I'm at peace with it. Some of the comments are, I wish you'd have carried on driving, you boring cunt.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I always, deep breath. I don't know this person, number one. Number two, imagine it was said about someone else. So let's create a character, Dave. And I'm just reading a comment on the internet. Dave. I don't know, Dave. Okay. Then I think, who do I admire? I've got a few people, actually. I've got some celebrities, of course. There's my dad and a few other people like that. Would they say something like that? I'm like, no. Would they act in that way? No. So I don't need to value what they're saying, and they're just letters on a screen. They don't know me. They just see the character that is me, the avatar that is posting on LinkedIn. So they don't know Adam Smith. They know what I choose those people to see. And just because I can post on the internet doesn't outweigh their right to say what they want about it. But then I can decide if I expose myself to it. I know people that openly will go onto Reddit and search the name every day obsessively. I'm like, that is a disaster. That's self-harm. I honestly think that's self-harm. You can't see the scars. It's not as obvious as cutting yourself, but it's causing harm to oneself. But why would you do that? Why would you invite that into your environment? You don't need to put that kind of pressure on yourself. So, some of the things that can be said are fucking horrendous, but I always just extend it, like I said, and just... okay. Imagine this was said about someone else and not me. How would I feel about this? I'd feel okay about this, actually. Right, well, let's move on then. It still hurts a little bit. I'm still human. They'll criticise your appearance. They'll criticise the message and whatever. Usually it's about the message, especially when you're talking about being alcohol free.
Do you know the best thing you can do there? Delete.
Yeah, block.
No, delete. And not even cross your mind.
100%, mate.
Going back to your question there will be a day when someone comes in at every single angle. There will be. Of course there will be. But if I'm just being me, I'm not trying to be anyone else. I'm just being me.
Correct. And it won't hit your insecurity, because then it is just you.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I'm not trying to be an entrepreneur. I'm not trying to be a businessman. I'm not trying to be a good bloke to my mates. My natural thing is to be a good bloke to people and nice and at me, and be nice to people and be kind. Unless someone does something naughty to you, and then you can go the other way.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see that side of me.
So I wanted to get to the thing before we get to the end of the podcast. I have to ask you about this. First question actually is, we're about 4.5 years in now to our business. What do I need to know about taking it to the next level like you have? I know you don't know much about us, so I'm looking at relatively generic stuff here, which is fair enough. But when people do, in your experience of the people you've worked with over the years and the people that you've seen come and go, what are some of the things that we have to do at year 4, year 5 to make sure that not only can we maintain what we're doing, but also take it to that next level?
First thing I would work on is how strong is your brand? Because businesses come and go, but brands stay. People, I'm a firm believer of creating strong brands, strong social media around you, portray you in the right light. And then what I would look at is your sums. How much do you need a year to live a nice life? You know what I mean? I always talk about a lifestyle business, and people don't talk about lifestyle. They're talking about, I've got to get bigger and bigger. And you go, well, how much do you want to earn? They go, I don't know. Well, what are you striving for? What are you going for? Do you want 50 grand? Are you happy with 50 grand? Can you live a nice lifestyle on 50 grand net profit at the end of the year after paying all your taxes and paying everything off and enjoying what you're doing? Do you want 100 grand? Do you want £250,000 quid, £500,000 or £1 million quid? Some businesses won't grow. Only 7% of businesses go over £1 million quid, by the way. People don't talk about that. there's 6 million businesses in the UK and only 75% are solopreneurs trying to work it all out. I feel sorry for a lot of these businesses who have jumped in going, I've got this business model. They've got no experience. They don't really know what they're doing. They're winging it. We've all winged it, but some businesses, a high percentage of businesses don't work. They literally don't work. But for me, going back to you, if I look now, so year 1, what did you turn over? 2, turnover. Year 3, turnover. Year 4, turnover. What's your business model? How can you simplify your business? Don't offer people too much. What can you do? Can you give them 1 or 2 things that you can offer them? 1, 2 or 3, and then next year you develop again. That's what I'd be looking at. But the most important thing is, are you happy what you're doing every day? That's my question to you.
Yeah.
Keep at it.
Absolutely.
Because what else you can do?
Yeah.
Do you want to go and work for a job, work for someone? You've got to be told when to turn up and what you've got to wear. As an adult, you've got to wear that, and you've got to turn up at that, and you can leave at that. And when you leave at 5 o'clock, people are staring at you going, "Oh, he's left early." You're an adult. What's the mentality around these corporate businesses? It's bonkers.
Yeah, clocking your time.
Clocking your time, mate. What? I know. I wouldn't last 2 minutes in an office.
My partner has to do that. She's a corporate lawyer. The irony of that, by the way, if you've got a team of 20 lawyers earning 70, 80k, what's their hourly rate? Okay, if it's a 40-hour contract, you're looking at a very high percentage. And then you're now getting 20. This is only one team in one enormous firm, but in one city and whatever. And you've got 10 teams. And within that team, you've got however many branch outs. You get them to record their time and it takes them 2 hours. Fuck, how much is that costing to record their time? It's unbelievable. Fucking mind-boggling.
When you get past a lifestyle business for me is anything under 12 people. The hot spot for me is 8 people. So you can have you have 1 or 2 sales, you have a marketing, you have a design, you have a video editor, you have managing director and general manager. That for me is like, that's the hot spot. The next one below that, which I really like, as you're building a business, you might have 4 or 5. You'll have a marketing, you'll have someone running it, you'll have 2 sales, and you'll have someone doing customer service. That's lovely as well. So don't think more staff is more money and bigger. More staff is more headache, and you've got a bigger chance of failing. Because when you get from 20, anywhere between 12 and 30 staff, you're too big to be small and you're too small to be big. And you're caught in this horrible area. Caught in this horrible little area here, which gossip starts, hierarchy starts, people are shagging each other, like all this stuff goes on. And then the people who you originally started your business with, who you really liked, and you were like a little tight bunch of mates, you start employing people who are really good at their job, who are probably on double the salary that person was, but no one likes that person. Like, it's awful. When I say to people, how big's your business? They go, I've got 28 staff. I think, what a ball ache. Yeah. What a ball ache. Do you know what I mean? Because that journey you're on is the lonely chapter. As you're building your business from an idea, like me and you come up with an idea today, I'll go away and I'll do more homework than anyone. Research. Write a list of all the things. I'm excited. I'll go and buy the URL. I'll go and get all the social handles. I'll get my designer to knock up a logo. What does it look and feel like? I'll reverse engineer it and go, right, where do I need to be in 5 years to make this work? What's my break-even time? Is it 2-3 years? God, if I do it 3 years, I'm smashing it. Is it 5 years? I get 5 years. Can I last 5 years doing this day in, day out? Can I build a little team around me who are going to live and breathe this to make this work? But that point from The moment of the idea is the excitement. Then you start getting into this area where you get into the lonely chapter as an entrepreneur. And I love the lonely chapter. I love the chaos. I love everything to do with building a business, the madness, the chaos, the mistakes you make, the tweaks, the improvements, new things coming in. You get a lawyer's letter come in because you've used the wrong thing. And all that to me is exciting. But to a normal person who's setting up a business, this can break you. This can absolutely break you because you are in a lonely chapter. And that lonely chapter could last for 3 years. You're at home working till 2 o'clock in the morning, getting up in the morning with not much sleep, and you're feeling dry-eyed, and you're up again, you're still in your comfies until 1 in the afternoon, you forgot to brush your teeth, and you're still banging on there, and you're chasing your tail to break through this to get to a point where you can now start speaking to proper entrepreneurs because they'll take you under their wing because they know you've got through that period. You look left after a year and some of your mates may be laughing at you. You look right and you're not big enough to be going in with the entrepreneurs who've broken the back of it. Do you know what I mean? And what a lot of entrepreneurs do in business, they break in that area. And that's why I keep going back to, you must freaking love what you do, because you'll wake up at times, if you don't love it, that's when most entrepreneurs go, you know what, boom, I'm leaving, I'm 100 grand in debt. That's seen as a failure. The knock-on effects of someone having an L, a loss under you, is heartbreaking for a lot of people. And that can lead to breakdown. It could lead to losing your marriage. It could lead to thinking about committing suicide. It could lead to all sorts of things. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people under pressure. I've had friends who have taken their lives. This is a serious problem because no one's talking about it. And as a blokes don't go to another bloke and go, I'm fucked, mate. I'm in serious trouble here. I borrowed 40 grand off mum. My brother chucked in 10 grand. My nan and granddad gave me 3 grand. My wife chucked in her savings, so I'm up to about 35 grand. The bank lent me 40 grand, and I'm pretending it's all good. And everyone asks me, I'm there with a big smile on my face, smiling at them, saying it's all good. But underneath, I'm like a swan on top. Underneath, I'm flapping like crazy underneath. You're then going to get yourself into serious trouble, because if you get past year 1, you've then got to go into year 2. You will then get yourself into more debt. And as the debt builds, people start thinking, what am I actually doing with my life? My marriage is on the brink, because it doesn't matter what you do. If you're setting up a new business, you will become obsessed. It will take over your life. You will be skint. You will be in debt until you break the back of it. And when I look back at the businesses now, you know, Bournemouth Sevens Festival is coming into year 18. 30,000 people, 400 teams competing, etc., 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 100 DJs, celebrities, all the stuff that goes on. But first 5 years was unbelievable amount of pressure. Unbelievable. More pressure than I could ever think of, trying to put on a festival in 67 acres of land when it was just me. My wife was working at JP Morgan. She left her job because I couldn't breathe. There was no staff. It was trying to put on a festival in the field. I bit off way more than I could chew. I didn't know what I was doing. We remortgaged the house and gambled the family house because we ran out of money. We ran out of money with 6 months prior to the first event. Back then in 2008, people wouldn't buy on the internet. There wasn't social media come on the scene, so it's all flyers and posters. So you're risking your family house. If no one turns up that day, you're going to lose your family house. That's a whole new level of pressure.
That is next level risk.
Yeah.
Not just, I'm going to buy a domain name and get my insurance to be a coach, you know, and I'll post on LinkedIn 3 times a week and see what happens. Like, holy shit, my livelihood could be taken away from me. My wife's just left a job of earning X amount of money, etc. Again, does that, and I mean this as big a compliment as I can pay you, does that level of like confidence / arrogance / I don't know what the word is really, with just like, this is it, I'm fucking going all in because I'm backing myself.
Yeah.
Going back to that message that Dad used to say to you over and over again. Was it the fact that, do you think it was the confidence in your offer? Do you think there was a little bit of and I actually think arrogance is healthy in the right amount, personally. I don't think it's a bad thing. But yeah, what made you that day go, this is it, this is the fucking idea?
I was all in. I'm all chips in. If I'm in on something, I'm in life.
Where did the idea come from in general, though? Because you brushed over it, right? You're like, the sports teams are this to that. A lot of people won't know what it is.
Yeah.
So what actually is Bournemouth Sevens? Like, how did that come about in your psyche?
It's a sport and music festival. In 2008, there was only music festivals in the UK. You had Glastonbury, everyone knows. Isle of Wight Festival on there, on the boat. You had Reading Festival, you had Leeds Festival, you had Bestival on the Isle of Wight. There was like a handful, there may be like 10 festivals, and I was like, I'm really well connected in sport and rugby because of my background at playing at Leicester Tigers and Loughborough Sports University and all that sort of stuff. All my pals were playing for England at the time. I was well connected in that world. I knew that if I mixed my promoting ability that I'd done for 10 years before with all the nightclubs and how we've really good at marketing, I knew how to throw an amazing party because I had hundreds of DJs on my books. And I just thought, if I amalgamated that, I wonder what would happen. And the idea is just, I've never written a business model in my life, a business
plan.
Yeah. I just haven't. I just never written one. So I was like, hold on, mate, but I'm good with numbers. I'm really good with numbers, really good with finances. And I knew, in fact, what's my break even? What's that? The one thing that I didn't know was I was thinking I was going to pay all the contractors the day after the festival. So when you're entering a whole world now of, remember, if you were doing nightclubs, I'll turn up at the nightclub, I'll take the door money, it's £3 a head, 2,000 students, I'll take the door money, I had 150 quid DJ when we're doing that period for 10 years, 150 quid DJ, 5 girls on the streets wearing hot pants and boob tubes, a couple of student lads on the flyer in and poster in, and the outlay was probably about maximum maybe 500 quid a week, but you take all the door money. And we had 12 of them every single week at peak. You know, it was a serious business as in my 20s. But when you go into your 30s and you go over that nightclub, you just turn up. The DJ's there, the DJ box is there, the toilets are there, the doormen are there, all the fences along the side there where the VIP queues are all up, the lighting's there, the sound's there, everything's there. All I've got to do is bring thousands of people. So that was my goal every week. When you're going into a festival and you hire 67 acres of land next to Bournemouth Airport, it's just green grass. I didn't have a clue about marquees, showers, toilets, fencing, dealing with the police, dealing with the fire brigade,
council,
dealing with the council,
worse than the police,
dealing with the council, dealing with hiring the venue, dealing with flooring, dealing with structures, dealing with Wi-Fi. I was like, what? But I didn't care. I was just in. I was like, what else have I got to do? What else have I got to learn? I'll learn it. And it all became way too much. You know, you're going in thinking you can do this. And at the same time, in the January of 2008, everyone was like, we want paying up front. I was like, no, I'll pay you after the festival. They're like, no. You've got no track record. We can't do this. You're a new company just opening up. I was like, no, I'll pay you afterwards. So that was going on. So we were 100 grand in the January of 2008, and we had more bills to pay. And that was the point where the global financial crisis happened. I was looking left and right, and I was like, said to my wife, I said, the only option we got is you walk away from that 100 grand and we just go, you know what, sod it, done. Or we gamble the family house. And that was a really, really difficult conversation to have with your fiance, you know, because she's not a risk taker. She's a beautiful, athletic sportswoman from Wales, lived in the countryside. She's going to have a promoter who's a massive risk taker, you know, so it works that way. We've been together 20 years and she's an absolute angel. But having that conversation for her to back us was a powerful thing. But post that, she couldn't handle the pressure. I don't mean that in a detrimental way. She just never taken a risk in life, and definitely not risking a home on this, a party in a field basically with all these sports teams. So that was big. That was massive, and you know I've got to have a huge amount of respect for Fleur, because you know she was crying 5 nights a week in bed for all those months leading up to it.
I could sense some emotion from you then when you were talking about it, when you recalled that conversation you had. Yeah, I could see a shift in the sort of physiology there. You know, what was that conversation like? I know you said it was a tough conversation, but
it was
how
just,
did it materialise?
It was just like, I told, this is the only option we got. We either walk away, or she was like, do you really think this is the right move for us? And I was like, I think I can do this. I really think I can do it. But there's no proof in that, because I couldn't sit there laying in bed and press buttons and use Instagram now and use LinkedIn and use Facebook and use all these things and use YouTube. Like, it was flyers and posters. It was putting adverts in Rugby World magazine to get all these sevens teams to come in and stuff like that. But that conversation was a real tough conversation. It really was. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I've never spoken about it. But yeah, that was a really, really tough conversation. But I'm really glad we had it, because I wouldn't be where I am today, 17 years later. But boy, if I was advising someone now, I would say, do not do that. Do not risk your house on an event that people are going to turn up and pay you cash on the day. Because if it would be raining, people won't turn up. When the security say to you, how many security do you want, Dodge? And I went, I don't know. They're like, why don't you know? I was like, well, I don't know how many people are going to turn up.
Yeah.
So they couldn't plan. The toilet company said, how many toilets do you want? I was like, I don't know. And they said, well, how many people are going to turn up? I said, I don't know, because I don't know how many people are going to turn up. So there was this. So all these pressures were building, and it was way too much for two people.
I'm not laughing at you, by the way. I just find it
so
I
hear
interesting.
you. I find
love it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, and there's tons of stories in the 17 years. In that first year, I said, my mind was, I need to get Ticketmaster on board. And Ticketmaster wouldn't go near any new events. They wouldn't. You had to really... So I was pestering Ticketmaster. And I thought, if I can get Ticketmaster on board and I can use a logo that replicated Superman, that's going to resonate with a lot of people. So I got my designers to knock me up a Bournemouth Sevens logo. So the Sevens was turned into Superman. It was red, yellow. It copied Superman, the same thing. Anyway, I thought, I really hope I get away with this. And then one day, because we were working at the garage in our house, one day I got a letter through the door leading up to the first festival, and it was a really heavy letter with, that sort of, when they stamp something and it's like candle wax, and it had Warner Brothers on it. I was like, oh mate, this is all I need right now, on top of all the pressure and everything. But
Clark Kent coming after me.
Yeah, no, it was madness. So the Warner Brothers, they were all over me. They were like, we're going to sue you. You got to burn all the, and I would just acted naive, dumb, played the cards like. But I knew if I could get a head start, and people were talking about it. Anyway, so we're back and forth with these lawyers, and I had to change the logo. I had to show them, we ripped everything up and burnt it. We did like 200,000 flyers and God knows how many thousands of A2 posters, which we'd cable tie and put on all the lampposts everywhere in different towns and cities and around the UK. It's proper graft, you know? But that's all I knew from the 10 years of promoting the nightclubs. So it's a lot easier these days to press buttons and talk to millions of people. But yeah, mate, that was, I've never really delved into that, but yeah, there was, you got, like, as an entrepreneur and a startup, you will have lawyers' letters come on your door at some point. You will do. There'll be things happening. Your people will see you as a competitor, and if they've been going 10 years, they're going to try to suppress you. They're going to try to do this to you. So you got to protect your business. You got to protect it like a diamond. You got to shine it. You got to polish it. You got to protect your business at every single angle, And I love pressure. I love pressure. I love risk.
That's how diamonds are made, right?
That's how diamonds are made. Diamonds are made by the pressure. If you can't handle the pressure, don't start up a business. Don't be an entrepreneur, But I at the same time, I love to help lots of entrepreneurs and lots of startup businesses, because I can save them 2-3 years in an hour's conversation. I can save them £100,000 or 50 grand or 200 grand by just going, people come in, I said, come in for free, sit down with me, I haven't got a problem. I can really, really help people, and they're going down one path, but because they haven't got anyone to ask the questions to, and and I feel like I know that I could go bam, 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 they'll phone up 3 weeks later going, thank you so much. I stopped doing that business. They thank me for saying, because I said, you better stop, because you're going to end up in a real pickle in 8 months, 10 months time if you're carrying as you are. Because once you get to find out their finances.
Yeah, we say that to people, like, before they start, because when we do the sort of business advisory / coaching with them, because we do performance coaching as well, but the business stuff, right? What is your financial situation, worst case scenario? Meaning, what are your incomes, what are your outgoings, or how much you got in savings? How long could you last without earning a single penny? About a year. Fantastic. So we haven't actually got a year. We've probably got about 8 months, because you don't want to get to having no savings, of course, especially if you've got mouths to feed and what have you. So let's, look at sensory acuity has to kick in, i.e. common sense at some point. Let's say month 6. If you've not made a single penny, you might have to get a part-time job. Okay, you all right with that? Yeah, I guess so. I could stack shelves at Tesco to keep money coming in. Great. Now, if you don't get any by month 8, you might have to do the full-time job at Tesco, let's say. Oh, I don't want to do that. I could go back to being full-time employed in my previous role. Great. Then you could do this on the side and build it over time. But don't just fucking hand your notice in and burn the boats. I hate that advice. Burn the boats. Don't do that. Because everyone's situation is different. If you've got 50 grand saved up and no children, yeah, burn that motherfucker.
Go for it.
Let's go. If you've got 2 kids and you've got 10k savings and your outgoings are 3 or 4k a month and you're the sole earner, don't fucking do that, because that is so stupid unless you've got this absolute gold of an idea that is going to work and you've got evidence that it's going to work. So yeah, it's really interesting, but that's why we set up our business 4 and a bit years ago. Was right, I've got X amount saved, X amount outgoings. My worst scenario is I can be a general manager or an ops manager in hospitality and earn 40, 50k a year. Let's do it.
But that's a beautiful fallback plan. I always say to them, you're in a really good position in life if you've got 6 months that you didn't have any work. You've got 6 months to survive.
Yeah.
If you've got 6 months to survive, you're in a really strong position.
Correct.
And anyone who's the age of 21 to 30, try everything. Take massive risks. Go travelling. Go and meet people. Go and talk to random people in the streets. Go and, as you're queuing up for your coffee, chat to people to your left and to your right. Be curious. Ask loads of questions. Be aggressively patient. Being aggressively patient in business is never spoken about, but it's something I live by. If you're aggressively patient in business, you know it's going to take X amount of time.
So, last question. And I always challenge people with this. If you keep it to one sentence, because I like punchy phrases I can take away. What does being on your A game mean to you?
Being bang on the ball.
Simple. Being bang on the ball. Love it. Dodge, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for being so open today. I've learnt a lot, and it's been awesome. So thanks, mate.
You're a good host, Adam.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
mate.
well done.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, cheers.
Good man.